thank you. You have been covering us through this entire day, and you'll continue to cover us. I want you to cover this conversation that we have. Thank you for allowing Nigel to get here safely. And I just want to thank you for any and everything.
Lord, we just pray that this episode and all the episodes of this amazing podcast would serve people that need inspiration, need motivation, need to know they're not alone, need to know what it is to be a man, to be a father. And I just pray, God, that you bless Kira and Cash and Sony and everybody that's putting this together, and Myer and his vision, and let this just serve, touch, and help people, draw them closer to you and closer to each other. In Christ's name.
Amen. So I got my man Legin here. What's going on, brother?
I'm chilling, dog.
I gotta reach over there like
hit the mic for the doc.
Yeah, I'm about to say, and the way my shoulders set up, man, I never know when I got mobility in them or not. But what's going on, people? It's your boy Myer Krah, back again with another episode of Here for the Dads. If you're in the 757 area and you listen to this podcast, honestly, if you're anywhere, because the man is mobile, we got Legin here, man. One of my good friends, RJ, hit me up a while back. Was like, dude, this is one of the dopest people, most versatile people I've ever met.
I remember him saying that now.
Yes.
Saying you gotta meet him.
You gotta meet him. And to be honest, in the beginning, I was like, I went to your page. I was like, man, this dude is moving. He looks super busy. And I was like, he does so much. I don't even know where to start. Like, I started getting a little bit insecure, if I'm being honest with you. I was like, can I reach out to him? And then I remember hearing other people talk about just how humble you always are, how cool you are in person.
Ah, dope, man.
And I started listening to some of your podcasts, Legin Podcast. That is the name of it, Legin Podcast. Legin. And I was like, bro, there's no way I can't reach out to you.
Man, thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
So
if it was confusing about what I do, that's a marketing issue on my part.
No. And the more I watched, the more I saw. I think I just read the bio, and sometimes people get blinded by that. I was like, oh man, he can rap. He's a pastor. He got a podcast. He does all this stuff. But it's all the same message.
Yeah,
which y'all love.
Yeah.
Talk to the people a little bit about the message or what you stand for.
Man, I'm big on. Thank you for that. Thank you for the intro, bro. Thank you for having me. I'm big on reconciliation, like just turning things around. Like the whole piece about Legin is just my name, Nigel, backwards. That's the whole idea. It's just God turned my life around. That's the whole point. And it's just this message of like reconciliation, forgiveness, fatherhood. That's what my whole life is about. That's why I was really honored to do this. I didn't even think about it. When I saw Here for the Dads, I'm like, yeah, say yes to that. You know what I mean? I looked it up after we say it. But for me, it's I want to see healthy fatherhood, healthy forgiveness, and reconciliation in all aspects of life. Like I care about political reconciliation, racial, like all socioeconomic, all that stuff, family, friends. Because my story was that I had to forgive my dad for what he did to me. And so that actually brought me to Christ. That actually was like, well, I want to tell this story to people and help them get healed. And I hope they meet Christ. But if they don't, on the way to that, I hope they at least get healed on the way. So that's what it's about. It's about turnaround.
What really gave you the strength to kind of start doing it? Because I think sometimes when people try to come back and build this healing for themselves, they get scared and kind of run away from it.
To start the healing journey, man, I kind of have a choice, man. I got thrust into it. Like it was, so the story in a nutshell is that my father was absent for most of my life. Like, you know, my mom and dad were married, had a decent marriage. But around the time I was born, he got addicted to drugs, alcohol. His parents passed away sometime after I was born, and he just kind of continued to descend and making bad decisions. So the first 5 years of my life, she's dealing with addiction stuff that wasn't there before, like drug, alcohol, all that. So after 3 failed rehab attempts, and I'm 5 years old, she had to make that unfair decision of, do I save myself? Do I save my marriage, or do I save my son? And she saved me. She got out, she left, she came back to Virginia Beach, where she was raised. She was in Kansas City, Missouri at the time. And my dad went back to DC, where he was from. And for the next 15 years, I ain't seen him. You know what I mean? Like it was just, you know, whatever he was doing, he was doing. So I grew up, you know, I remember being in elementary school, and me and my friend Charles would make up stories like, oh, my dad's a superhero. He's out here, you know, my dad's a secret agent, you know, trying to like, and the kids, they're looking at like, man, this is stupid, but it's entertaining. Like they let us say it, but we were trying to make up excuses for why dad went. You know what I mean? And I remember around 12 years old, my dad was like, yo, I just bought this car. He would call sometimes. He called drunk. My mom wouldn't let me get him, talk to him. She didn't want me to experience that. But one time he got through, and I picked up talking to him, and he's like, hey man, I bought this car. I'm gonna pick you up on this day and make up for lost time. I was like, oh, good to see you. And I waited by the door with a backpack. You know what I mean? And so that when that happens, it's kind of like, oh, all the stories, my dad's coming back one day. This ain't true. He just don't want me. So now I'm pissed. And now it's like, all right, I got to find a way to cover this pain up and like make myself feel like I deserve to be here.
Right.
So you start to do everything, these line rappers telling you to do, everything you see your friends doing, start to, chase women, start to chase money, start to chase validation. I got to be number one. I can't be no punk, whatever. All the stuff you do to try to make yourself feel like you worth something. I started to fall in that stuff. So fast forward to 20, I get a letter from my dad, a handwritten letter. And he says, I need to come see you and apologize for what I've done. So he comes down to Virginia Beach. We have dinner on the strip, place called Mahi's. Shout out to Mahi's. Great fish.
Yeah, great fish.
Great fish. And we had dinner, man. And it was like, in that moment, it was like nothing had happened. We had a really good dinner. We laughed, we talked, we enjoyed each other. And then I guess he got comfortable because at the end of that, he says, but is there any way you'll forgive me for what I did? And I looked him dead in his eye. I said, bro, I'd never forgive you for what you did to me. I'll never forgive you. Because this was my only opportunity to hurt you back. Like, why would I let that go?
I was going to ask you that.
You know what I mean? Like, I was excited. And my mom was trying to figure church out. She took me, I was raised in church, all that. But I followed a few rules, like don't steal, don't kill, check. All right, I'm good, right? And I just kind of like, I don't care anymore. I just left. I ain't care about church. I ain't care about Jesus. I care about none of this. And so that's where he met me. So I'm definitely like, oh, I'm going to get my revenge now. Like, it's wrong, but it don't feel wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I sent him back home, and I was excited just to like, I get to reject you now.
Yeah.
And fast forward a few months, I dropped out of college at Norfolk State. I'm selling insurance. And a lady walks into my office and she says, hey, God sent me here with a message for you. If you don't get that bitterness out of your life, you'll never make it into the kingdom of heaven.
How old are you? At this?
20. I was probably 21 when this happened, because I was 20 when I met him, and I was probably around 2021 when it happened. My birthday's in May. And so I'm just sitting here like, well, that was rude. I'm just trying to make some money. Like,
lady?
Yeah, you gonna buy a policy or no? Like, he can't just drop that bomb and not buy
All right,
something.
come on now.
But she left, and I'm just like, and I didn't really care, but I cared.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And 3 months later, I did call him, and I said, hey, look, I'm going to let it go. I forgive you. I love you. Let's figure this out. And we had this really beautiful conversation where like you could feel like the chains fall off of this man's shoulders. You know what I'm saying? And for me, they fell off mine too, by surprise. Just from, I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to let the debt go. That's what forgiveness is. I go and teach about forgiveness now in different places like schools and prison stuff. Like, forgiveness is just letting the debt go, right? There's more to it, but that's the start. And so he was like, man, I'm so excited. I'll come see you this weekend. Let me get a hotel, and I just want to come see you. I was like, yeah, slow up.
Yeah, give me a little room.
Give me free.
Too fast.
I'm doing the most right now. Yeah. And I was like, but I said, we good though. I love you. Like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't know that would be the last time we spoke. Like, right after that call, he passed away. So we never spoke again. My last conversation with my dad's literally, I forgive you. And that took me to 3 places. I was like, all right, I was right leaving church because God ain't real. Like, what type of plan is this? You know what I'm saying? Or if God is real, he's mean. Because what type of games you playing? Why would you bring him just to take him away again? Like, why would it make more sense just keep him away?
Yeah, at this point, it's like,
at this point,
why you make me do this?
Why you made me go through all this?
Yeah.
Just to have some hope and snatch it from me. Or God is real and he really cares about forgiveness and reconciliation and second, third, fourth, fifth chances and being able to get it right up to your last breath. And if that's who God is, if that's the Christ that my grandma was trying to tell me about that I ain't want to listen to, and then my mom been trying to figure out I ain't want to hear about, if that's who this is, that's who I need. And I gave my life to Christ. And I never been the same. And that's for me, because I always rap, but I always went by Legin because I saw my name backwards. But that's when it took on purpose. Like, man, God turning my life around. And forgiveness and reconciliation became very important to me. And I saw it as the core of the message of Scripture. I saw it as the core of things that are wrong in our society, like our inability to forgive, all the divisiveness and parents leaving their kids and kids not want to be their parents. All that stuff, the core of it is just, I forgive you. If we can master that, it fixes almost everything.
Yeah.
And so that's what my message is. Whether it's music, whether it's media, whether it's a message I'm delivering, speaking, it's always that.
Man, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was not only powerful, but you recognizing where you were in time and putting that together. And I know there's probably big portions or big windows of that you can probably definitely go into a little bit more. But naturally what I'm thinking about is the forgiveness part. Like, I think sometimes people don't recognize that they're trying to hold that forgiveness for different reasons. They want to still feel powerful over the situation, right? They don't want to give up that debt. And I know in fatherhood or in relationships, period, I hear a lot of those stories. I hear you're in a lot of different arenas. You talk about church, you talk about going to speak to prisons. I mean, going to speak to people in prisons, and you also rap too. You're a musician, and me specifically, I feel like I hear that story perpetuated and talked about a lot in I guess I'd call it the rap arena. I don't even know where to start for some of those men as I hear them do interviews. And there's one interview specific, and I can't even remember the rapper's name, but he was just starting with, "I will never forgive him."
Right.
And I wouldn't even know where to start with somebody when I'm talking to them about that, about like why it's important to do it, why it's beneficial to do it. Where do you start with somebody who is harboring that in their heart and doesn't see the benefit in like even doing that? They just feel like they need to keep that power.
No, I get it, man. It makes sense because the power that you talk about, I think, is the desire for justice for the wrong that's been done. And I think that's healthy. And I don't think that's wrong. The reason why I found most people don't forgive is because they feel like if I forgive you and just let it go, I don't get the wrong made right that was done to me by you. I don't get justice. I deserve justice. And they're right about that. So what I've started doing is what I try to do to help somebody in that is I've broken forgiveness down into 4 parts I think are very helpful. It's a 4-part framework that I think if you can separate these parts, you can learn what forgiveness is and how to protect yourself and how to get justice and all that type of stuff. And it's just this. It's just forgiveness, justice, trust, and reconciliation. They're 4 different things, right? So people feel like if I just forgive you, I just got to sweep it under the rug. I got to let you back in my life. I got to act like nothing ever happened. I got to pretend like we're friends. None of that's true. Forgiveness is just letting the debt go. It means you wronged me. You owe me an apology. You owe me to make it right. You owe me blood. You owe me $1. Whatever you stole from me, you owe it back. And forgiveness is simply saying that whether you do what you need to do to make it right or not, I'm going to let the debt go. Because if you steal $5 from me and you owe me $5 to pay me back, what's happening is you have a debt of $5, but you haven't paid it. I'm carrying that debt. I need you to pay me my $5. So I'm walking around mad that you don't have my $5. I'm mad that you haven't given me my apology. I'm mad you haven't given me my dignity back. I'm mad that, you know what I'm saying? And all those things are wrong, but I'm carrying the debt that you owe, that I think you owe, right? And interest is accruing because my bitterness is basically interest on this debt that you owe. So if I don't let the debt go, I'm the one that's burdened with what you owe. You walking around in my head rent free. You know what I mean? So forgiveness is letting the debt go. And regardless of what you do, forgiving me, making it right, whatever, I have the freedom at any moment to release you of that debt. Whether you come and say, I'm sorry or not, I ain't got to carry it no more because I'm going to let it. I'm not going to walk around mad. I'm not going to walk around salty, none of that stuff. Now, because of which I might have to go to therapy. I might have to work things out. That's not fair. But I might need to go do that so that I can live free. Ain't got nothing to do with you.
It ain't about fairness.
Ain't about fairness. Now, justice is getting the debt paid. And that should happen. You should pay me my $5. You should come apologize. You should deal with all the things you got to deal with for what you did.
Right.
If you broke the law against me, you should go to jail for that. None of that's wrong. I talked to a young girl one time. She was like, all right, so to be a good person to forgive, I just got to let the person that abused me kind of back in my life because I need to prove that I forgave. I said, no.
That ain't what you said.
That ain't what I said. I said, you can forgive them and call the police. You want me to help you? Like, we can do that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that. So it's just like there's a piece where you do seek justice. But you can also be free. If they never say sorry, if they never repent, or God forbid in this broken life and broken system we have, justice doesn't happen, you still don't have to walk around burdened and holding on to debt. Those are 2 different things. You can forgive and still pursue justice. I think you should. And I hope that person does come and say, man, I shouldn't have said what I said. I shouldn't have done what I did. I shouldn't have stole that $5 off the shelf. Let me pay that back. And that's justice. Now, just because you get justice doesn't mean you trust them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Trust is earned. Forgiveness is given. Trust is earned. So I don't have to let you back into my life just because you said sorry. I have the right to give you the opportunity to earn my trust back. So maybe we'll see about a coffee or 2 and just sit down and see Are you a different person? Have you changed?
Yeah.
Are you still going to hurt me? Are you still going to? And if I want to give you that, right? And if it's healthy for me to be,
I was about to say, because I'd assume that takes some strength, right?
take some strength, yeah.
Like, just because you've gotten to that point, you're like, I don't know how to get to this next spot. Like,
Right.
I don't, you might want that more than me. Maybe I don't want that.
Yeah, maybe I don't want it. Maybe it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe being in the same room with you reminds me what you did. I just can't be there right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to forgive you from a distance because that's okay too.
Yeah.
But if you feel like I want to give you the opportunity to earn trust back and you're showing yourself trustworthy and willing to humble yourself to earn my trust, then maybe I'll give you a chance and maybe you'll earn it. And maybe we get to reconciliation, which requires both of us working hard to get the relationship back that we lost. And maybe we end up better than we were before the offense happened. Maybe we don't. Reconciliation requires is a two-way street. Forgiveness is a one-way street. You don't need anybody to forgive.
Yeah.
But you need the other person for the other three. And if you, in an ideal situation, you get to reconciliation and everything is healed. Everything's not ideal in this life, but you can forgive even if you can't reconcile. So what that rapper might have been saying was, I'll never reconcile with this person. They can't make right what they did to me. I'll never be able to trust them again. He or she still has the power to forgive if they understand there's a difference between those other things. So that's how I lay it out.
And I wish we talked about that a little bit more, especially when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Because when you realize that you're the one carrying all the weight and that you're the one's hurting, because it's not only hurting you too, because that's what, sometimes people come up to you and say, hey, you got to let this go, or you should do this or do that. And it's not always because how much they see is hurting you, but it's always also poisoning the grounds that you're stepping on and the environment and the people that you're with. And I'm sure you had built a family since then.
Yeah.
Could you only imagine what that would look like if you hadn't forgiven before that?
Bro, I think I would have ruined my family. Like, I don't think I would have had a family I have right now.
What do you think it's taught you?
What's that?
Like, what do you think you actually getting to the point of forgiveness has taught you in your relationship with your family now?
It taught, the first thing that comes to mind is it teaches me to be humble in front of my kids when I mess up and apologize to them.
Yeah.
It's because I don't want, somebody said nobody leaves childhood unscathed.
There it is. There it is. I talk about that all the time. Yeah, only because I know for a fact I'm not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Here I am sitting here with a Fatherhood podcast. Yeah. It's not for me to say that I'm perfect or to teach all these people all that, but I'm telling my wife, like, hey, babe, I'm still doing stuff wrong and I recognize that I'm doing things wrong.
Yeah.
My only thing is to prepare myself for when my son is ready to have these conversations about the things that I did and then validate it without trying to justify it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's big. That's big wisdom right there. I like that. Nah, man, I'm with you, man. Like nobody gets out perfect, right? So what the biggest thing I can get my kids is I can falsely try to be the perfect dad. The problem is when I fail at that, to keep the ego up, I can't acknowledge my faults, right?
Yeah.
Or I can just know that I'm not going to be the perfect dad, like you said, and carry it with me. Like if I do legitimately screw this up and my kid sees it, the very first thing I got to do is turn around, get on my knee, look them in the eye and say, look, I messed up and I'm really sorry. Yeah. Would you please forgive me? And model for my children what it looks like to be an accountable man, which is not what I was shown, right? By my father. My granddad showed me he was a great man. My granddad is the reason I'm a good man today because of who he was. But my dad didn't show me that. My dad showed me running. You know what I'm saying? So I show that to my kids. And I think my kids had this brutal honesty policy. Like they'll self-snitch when they do something wrong. And I love it. I'm like, bro, like I don't even want to ground you now. Like, I just appreciate it. You do it again, I'm going to ground you. But right now, you off the hook.
I'm not even used to seeing this.
And you know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's been really cool, man. And the same thing with my wife. Like if I jack some up or whatever, it's harder with her because my ego's involved.
Yeah.
But like I go to my wife and I'll be like, look, I was wrong with that. That wasn't us. That was me. I messed that up. I'm sorry. Yeah. And, you know, just being able to just man up and do it. You know what I'm saying? I think I learned that through the whole situation.
It's hard, man, when that ego's in the way. And sometimes you don't even recognize it. Sometimes you do. And most times, I would say more so, most times you do. I was talking to my baby brothers last night. Sometimes we just stay on the phone for a long time. We got Bible study every Monday night.
Oh, that's fine.
Naturally, man. Like we usually started from like 8:30, supposed to end at 9:30. I don't think I've ever gotten off the phone before 1 o'clock with all them on there. And it's beautiful to me because I'm like, I'm actually getting a chance to like really talk and like mentor them and understand like where their head is and kind of like, you know, pray over them and just give them a little advice. But naturally, what I tell them now is the things that I'm working on with my own marriage.
Yeah.
And one of those things is how can I get to I'm wrong first? Like, how can I get there faster? How can I stop being offended by something that my wife is telling me and start being a little bit more genuinely curious about what she's telling me?
Yeah.
Because my ego will take over and I'll just keep fighting. I'll keep backpedaling. I'll keep defending whatever it is that I say, even when I know I'm wrong, like I've definitely been in a position where my wife has told me something, I recognize I'm wrong, and I'm like, I just keep that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fighting so hard just to not do that, but you can't get to a point where there's peace.
Yeah.
You can't get to a point where things change. You know what I mean? So I definitely get that. And what I want to get into is, you talked about faith a lot.
Yeah.
And it seems like your relationship of forgiveness, there's a lot of F's in here, forgiveness, father and faith, but forgiving your father led you to your faith.
Yeah.
What I want to know is how those things are connected. And maybe the question I can lead with is like, how has your faith and your relationship with God shaped your, I guess, your fatherhood journey?
Yeah, man. When I would read through, so I just, when I came to faith, I was like, I don't want to hear what some preacher saying. I don't want to hear some song. I don't want to hear some sermon. If you're going to speak, I want you to speak to me. I want to read this book for myself. I don't want anybody. I want to read it and you help me understand what's going on. And as I journeyed through the scriptures, man, I just found out God's heart for the alien, the foreigner, His graciousness towards His people over and over. They kept screwing him. They kept screwing God over and over and over again, and He kept just, hey, listen, just come back one more time. He just kept forgiving, and it was almost like, dang, I feel bad for God at this point. Cause you know what I mean? And then you see Christ come in the picture, and His whole thing is like, I want to reconcile you to the Father. He's got this prodigal son story. He's like, this is the depiction of the son and the father, and the son going out to get the. I just saw forgiveness everywhere. I wasn't looking for it. It's just like, I just see it. And one of the most beautiful scriptures for me is Christ on the cross. Like, He's literally hanging on the cross, 6 hours, asphyxiation, like losing blood, losing breath, struggling to breathe. When you really study like the process of crucifixion, it's not just somebody's up there just bleeding out and it's like a one little drop of blood. Like you have to push up on the feet. There's a nail through your feet and you got to push up to breathe. So every time you push up, your feet are ripping while you're trying to catch. Like, I'm looking at this, and the point is 6 hours of that. And one of the last 7 sayings of Christ is, Father, forgive them being the people that put me up here. They know not what they do. I'm just like, how are you still forgiving people in the middle of that? I just saw the forgiveness over and over again. It seemed to be a consistent theme of the character of God. And then I noticed I always had a problem with the Father scriptures, right? Like God the Father.
Okay.
And honor your father and mother. And I'm like, I don't want to read that part. I read 9.5 of these commandments are great, but honor your father and mother. Let's skip the father one. Like, I don't want to do that. I noticed my issue with the father piece. So I started like, God, would you reclaim this word father for me? Because it's a scar for me.
Yeah. It's
a sore spot. And you're saying you're the Father. And Jesus keeps pointing back to God the Father. And I'm like, what? God the Son keeps pointing back to God the Father. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And as I settled into the character of God and the forgiveness of God and who the Father is, it started to inform, like, I want to be more like this than the egotistical men I see and man I've been. I don't want to be who I've been. I want to be more like this. And it's not just walking around acting holy all day. It's like, if Jesus can forgive these people, then I need to learn how to forgive. If he can have patience with hard-headed folks and people that get on his nerves, I need to have patience. If he can stop on the side of the road and take care of little children, I need to be able to stop, take care of mine. So just how did he do that? Like who, and that's my journey in life, is like to be more conformed to that image. And that's impacted my father.
Yeah. That's recognizing, because I think sometimes they look at the whole picture. They pick up the Bible, right? They look at the whole picture and they're like, there's no way I can do this.
Right, facts. And they're right.
They're like, there's no way I can do this.
Yeah.
But they stop before figuring out, like, how do I start?
Yeah.
How do I do the little pieces?
Yeah.
Where does my life line up to what he's doing now? Where can I? And for me, I even try to look at some of the small things. Like if I'm checking out of the store or something like that, they say, hey, do you want to round up to? I'm like, naturally I used to be like, no, man, I just take my money.
Say my 73 cents, like, you can't take that.
But now I'm like, is this an opportunity? Not a test. This is an opportunity. Because at first it was always a test. I don't want to fail the test, so let me check this box, let me check this. But let me not curse, let me not do this, let me not do that. And the same thing for my father. My dad told me to do something, and I felt like I didn't want to get in trouble. So I did what he said because I didn't want to get in trouble. It was the test. But now it's like there's an opportunity to do better, to be like him, to be like my father. And now I search for those a lot more. And I think it might be, I don't know if it's going to be hard or not to teach that to my sons.
Yeah.
I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, 2 1-year-olds, and I recognize that leading by example is going to be great for them. But I want to take the next step. How do you take the next step with your family, with your kids specifically, and bringing in faith to them and how they should live from a father's perspective?
I was going to say for you, man, like they're going to learn it from your life. Like I think there should be like intentional instructional moments and intentional conversations. I'm all for that. But those ain't the things that seal the deal, I think. I think the stuff that like you really believe and live this is how you live. Yeah. It's how you treat your wife. It's how you take care of them. It's how you, why'd you make that decision? Well, I made this decision because the Lord says this, so I don't want to be like this. So that's why I did that. And like that, when they see your life, I think that's what makes the biggest deal. I'm praying for my kids that what they've seen in me is a life that's more attractive than the other stuff that's out here offering and trying to pull them on.
That's good.
My prayer is like, Lord, I pray that when I have lost my temper, when I haven't been perfect, that they don't look at me and see a hypocrite. I pray that they look at me and say, Daddy screwed up. He apologized. I didn't like that. I don't want to be like that. Yeah. But the other 99% of the time of who he is, I want that. That's my prayer. So I'm hoping that that's what I'm showing them in my life. That we actually just started going through like this little devotional for Matthew. So we read the word.
This with your whole family?
Yeah, my wife and 2 kids. And we read a chapter every morning and we just talk about observation, application. But it's weird because like I'm a Bible teacher. I'm out here doing this stuff a lot, but we never really had those dedicated times at home as a family. And I felt like a bit of a hypocrite for it. But I leaned on like the life I live, and I leaned on, they go to a Christian school, so they get in Bible class, all that stuff. And like whenever they got questions, we talk about it. But like now we're sitting down and actually doing that. And it's just, it took me way too long to be just dead honest with you. Like I'm embarrassed to admit that on camera. But it's been like just incredibly healthy and fun for us. Like it immediately became like, bro, right after breakfast, do this, and then we go to school. And it's just been really fun, bro. Like, so it's
that's dope. I think I'm gonna have to try something. I've been trying to give myself a little bit more grace
for sure.
Things in that area, because it's like I have so many goals and things that I want to do for my kids, and sometimes it's things that I didn't have for myself. Like I never remember sitting next to my dad and just praying. And like now, it wasn't until my mother-in-law was like, "Do you pray in front of the boys? Like, do they see their father get down on their knees and be humble? And yeah, you apologize, but do you apologize to your father in front of them? Like, do you do these things?" So now I'm trying to implement it a little bit more, because honestly, my wife, she grew up in the church. I guess she was raised Pentecostal. I'm talking skirts and dresses to school every day. And, and man, she can spit a verse like it's nobody's business. Like anywhere, like we might just be saying something like, "Oh yeah, the sheep and that." And for me, I was in and out of church some, but I didn't have, that's not my story. Like that's not what I remember. And I got stronger in my walk with God while I was in college, and it was a beautiful time and a great time. It was everything that I needed. And now I'm like, sometimes I feel like I don't know where to start with my kids. Like my kids are going to Bible study, and he'll come home and talk about a name that I'd never even heard before. They'd be like, they replaced Judas. I'm like, boy, you 6. What I'm like, do I need to get in my Bible? I feel like maybe I'm the street daddy, and then you got the nice mom with the nice family. And I was like, hey, this is what they always be talking about. And I'm trying to model it the right way for him. But I still want him to see that I'm being authentic. I'm not trying to be fake. And it's cool now because I feel like I'm learning next to him.
That's good.
And I get to do it together. And it's some of the things that I feel like I'm missing with my father now. But so many times I've heard people with that same story saying like, I don't understand how I can have a relationship with God. He's calling himself my father, and I don't even know my father, so I don't know how to be a good son. I don't know how to be a good daughter to him.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people who say, I don't even know how to be what they need, what that father needs to be?
Yeah, I think that, man, the first thing is you got to get to know him. You got to get to know him. Like that, when the problem is when we have this expectation, when earthly fathers that have been imperfect are our representation of God the Father, we put an unfair expectation on him to think that he's like them. And it's a natural thing to do. Like we all do it. That's why I used to skip that verse. But like when we understand that the Father is the Father that we all in our core, even if we never experienced and don't really know what to ask for, but he's the Father that we always wanted, the one we always, if there was a perfect dad, he'd be like this, that he's that all of our ideas stem from the fact that we're made in his image and we're disconnected, so our inside is crying out for what he already is, then we can just sit back and say, I need to get to know him. And then we get to him and we find out that he doesn't have this list of to-dos for us to earn his love. That he doesn't have this list of things to say, hey, do this, and then you get the treats of the Father. You just get the treats of the Father because you're the son and the daughter, period. Like there's an inherent, and we're literally called co-heirs with Christ.
I love that
Co-heirs.
like that.
You know what I'm saying?
It's dope.
And Christ is the only one who did the stuff to be considered that, right? We didn't do any of that. We just get it because we're connected to Christ, and because of Christ, we're reconciled to the Father. So we're co-heirs.
Jeez.
We get all of the benefits of the heavenly household just because we're connected, and just because we turned around and said, I want to come home.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is hard. I preach and teach this for a living, and it's still hard for me to wrap my mind around. Not in some old fake whatever way, like on some legit, like, what does this mean? Like, you mean I legitimately I'm just yours? Like, I never experienced that.
Yeah.
I got it from my granddaddy though. Like, when I came to his house at 5, he died when I was 10. I got 5 years seeing my grandfather be the great man he was. He said something to me one time that has helped me understand in some way what God the Father's love is like. He looked at me and he's like, you're not just my grandson. He said, a child of my child is twice my child.
Whew.
You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. Ooh, give me that one more time. I need to. Ooh.
A child of my child is twice my child. That's what he told me, man. I didn't do anything to earn that. I didn't do anything. I hadn't won any trophies or got any A's. It just was. And I'm like, he's the most godly man I ever met. I'm tearing up thinking about him right now.
Yeah.
So if that's who my granddaddy is, who is modeling and he got my granddaddy has the first half of his life is not a good story. What he was passed on and who he was, he met Christ like later, and changed into who I met as a grandfather. So if this imperfect man can be like that to me, what must be the father that he's following be like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I for people to struggle with that, man, it's just, you got to meet God. You got to spend time to see who he is. Read who Christ said the Father is, without all the cultural expectations and this religion and that person talking about, no, Jesus ain't this and that. Just read what Jesus said for yourself. Just read the words, like without these filters or blinders on. And this is who Jesus is. And he says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Because the disciples was like, well, just show us the Father, that'll be enough. He's like, you still don't get it. If you've seen me, you've seen him. You know what I mean? Yeah. They say Jesus never claimed to be God. Wrong. Read what he said, right? So if you've seen me, you've seen. So like, if that's who Jesus is, if I can read, when we read the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, these are biographies.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
They're not story. They're written by the people that were there. They're dictated to authors, like, write this down. This is what he said. And they all line up. So like, when you read that stuff, it's crazy when you find out this is how Jesus carried himself. Because they all expected him to be a different person.
Yeah.
They expected him to carry himself a different way. They expected a military Messiah. And he shows up and he's like, no, I'm going to serve my enemy. Take him a cold cup of water. Like me.
Boy, that will freak somebody out.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Imagine walking in and you see your boss, right? You see somebody that's supposed to be in charge of everything, the king, the leader, the role, and it's like, hey man, how you doing? Shake your hand. Do you need anything to drink? You need that? You're just waiting for something to twit. You're waiting for something to switch. And it never switches. Never switches off.
Because all the other bosses you had have been jerks. You know what I'm saying? So you associate boss with everybody else.
Yep. And earthly.
But then he steps in and says, I'm going to do the job of a slave, and I'm going to wash your feet. So much so, Peter's so disoriented, he says, no, you cannot do this. Don't wash my feet. No. Peter's telling Jesus' face, no, don't wash my feet. And he says, if you don't let me wash my feet, you missed the whole point and you have no part in what I am. And Peter's like, well, in that case, wash everything, you know? And like, and it's just, he blew their minds with how he treated it. So, I don't know, man. And when you get to Colossians 2, it talks about he humbled himself, like he came from heaven to earth. Like it's so beautiful. So when I read that, I'm like, okay, if I've seen Christ, I've seen the Father. If that's who the Father is, that's who I want to be with, and who I want to be like, in my relationship to my wife and my kids. And I'm imperfect when I do that. And when I mess up, I'm going to apologize to him because I've learned forgiveness from the Father. But yeah.
That's, boy, you blowing my mind. Because I feel like it's answering so many questions even I've had, like being new in having a family and being a father and feeling unprepared, not recognizing that I also already had the guide and the instruction and somebody to look at. And sometimes we go straight to our earthly father and be like, well, this is what he gave me, so this is what I got to work with, and he didn't know, so I don't know, and I just move forward like that. So, and if he can't teach me, then maybe I'm not supposed to know.
Yeah.
No, there's a daddy of 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 a daddy who's up there, who's done some things, sent some people. So maybe I need to go follow that.
Maybe I need to learn, man. And the thing is, man, you can have, and not having the perfect father, like this feels fake to say, but I believe it. Like you can have you got the most perfect dad, right? I see people that I know that I envy the father they have and the relationship they have, right? It's beautiful. But that person can show you everything and give you the guidebook, give you the manual, give you the steps. Like, all right, when they turn 6 months old, do this, teach you everything about fatherhood, all that. It doesn't matter until it's experiential for you.
Yep.
Until you go through it.
Yep.
So even if you have the guide, it's still going to be those scary times of I'm experiencing this for the first time. Or they told me this, I tried it, it didn't work. Now what do I do? Right? There's those moments of fatherhood and marriage and family and being a man and all that, where it's just, you just got to experience stuff. And every time you experience it, you're doing it with a one-of-a-kind, unique human, and that's your child. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and then you got a wife who's their own. And so everything that you've learned and thought and told is going to hit them different because they're different people. So you got to go through the steps of like, all right, this stuff works. I know it does. I was taught this. The Bible says that. My father did this. I learned this from one of my mentors, whatever. And you've got to learn it experientially in your own context and find out what works and what doesn't. Because you got to deal with people with different personality profiles and different experiences and hurts and traumas and likes and dislikes. And you just got to walk stuff out. So even the most prepared person will still be honest and admit they were unprepared because they had to walk it out to find out what really was working in their context. So even if you got the best tools and you read the Bible back and forth and you clips loaded, you're good to go. Praise God. You're better off than most people, but still, there's still an element of we all unprepared at some point. And we got to lean on God in the moment for stuff. So
I love this one. I might name this God the Father.
Do it, bro.
I mean, when it's all this said and done, I'm going to bring these mics and everything to heaven. I know I can't take a lot with me, but maybe I'll do a podcast with the Father.
Just sneak the mic. Just put the mic in the casket. Open float up there with
me. Just put a little oil on his hand. And you just we bring that bad boy on up there. But there's so much I think there is to learn, right?
I just got the weird visual like you and your nephew, like, all right, guys, my last time. Grab the mic.
Slide that bad boy out. It's your boy, Myer Krah. Here for the Dad's Podcast, the one and only. And I would need Steve Harvey, though. Have you ever heard his introduction of God?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
It's an epic one. I got to give it to you.
It got to be epic. If I'm bringing God onto the podcast.
You got to get Godfrey to at least do the impersonation of it if you can't get Steve.
You know? I'm sure he loved it, too. That's probably the latest one I've ever heard, man.
Right. He killed it.
Oh, bro.
That was good.
Maybe I'll have Steve Harvey on here do that same thing, because it'll be lit like that. Yeah, bro. But you talked a lot about your grandfather, and I know, man, I got notes and I got questions and all this stuff, man. I'm throwing it all away. I'm not gonna throw it in my phone and that like that. Maybe if there's no cards, I'll make it like dramatic and throw it or whatever. But
that's why you got to get the no cards.
Yeah, I gotta get them bad boys. Do like Shannon Sharp, man, and get those no cards. But I have so many more questions that I didn't prepare for. But I want to hear more about your grandfather, man. Like, what did he teach you about fatherhood? Talked about faith and a few other things.
Yeah, man. He co-owned the first Black pharmacy, and I've been getting cities wrong, bro, but I think it was Arlington, Virginia.
Okay.
He co-owned that, man. They had this pharmacy where if you couldn't afford your medicine or lunch, they just took care of you.
Wow.
And it's a historic landmark actually up there, which is crazy.
Oh, man.
And so he's just Waverly Jones Sr. That's his name, Waverly. That's my middle name, Waverly. Okay. He just I don't know, man. I watched him. Like I was from 5 to 10. I had 5 years of an example from what I didn't, I guess God mathematically from what I saw from 1 to 5, you know? And he took care of his family. He went to work every day, went on his walk every day. He was in his word. Yeah. You had a question, he had an answer. You came to the door knocking, saying somebody else was God. He was like, all right, let's talk about it. Tell you what the scripture's like. And I met people as I was growing up. I'll meet people 10, 20 years after his death, be like, man, your grandfather changed my life. Right. You know what I mean? He was just that type of guy, man. So he just showed me, man, like the legacy of faith and the legacy of manhood that can be left to where like he's been gone for almost 30 years and we still talking about him like this. And his children still talking about it like this. And he left a legacy of education with them. My uncle went on to be a lawyer, and my uncle actually integrated the high school I went to.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
Like,
yeah. That's dope.
Yeah, my grandmother, my aunt went on to get her PhD. My mom went on to get her PhD. My grandmother got her PhD in her 60s. You know what I mean? Just because that's the legacy he left. And it was never this like, you got to go get a degree.
Yeah, it wasn't like an over.
It wasn't that.
Pressure.
It was just he rose some stuff and he set a bar, and other people wanted to meet it. And it's just, you know, the neighborhood I grew up in is actually historical too, because it was split. Like, it was a black dude who was a mortician, very successful for his time, and he bought a bunch of land to only sell to black people to give them like a leg up, give, you know, some middle income, like some middle class, and like some home ownership and all that in the time when all the redlining and the craziness, right? And so he did that. He was friends with my grandparents, so they bought a house, and that's still their house to this day. And I grew up in that neighborhood, so there was a white side and a black side. The black side, he was selling stuff to everybody, and there's a lake, and then there's the white side.
Wow.
So when my mom and them grew up, there was a gate, if I'm not mistaken, to prevent black kids from going up to the white side. So that's what my mother grew up in. And like I said, my uncle went to the high school I went to, Bayside High School, Virginia Beach.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Bayside.
Yeah, so that's where my wife and I went. And he was an integrating class at that school. My mother was the first black Miss Bayside at that school. She won for singing competition. And so like there's this legacy of like overcoming in the face of overt, you know, obstruction that our country put in place. And I'm saying all that to say, back to who he was, he never said a bad thing about white people to me. He never said them crackers over there. I never saw him treat anybody with anything other than love, despite what he grew up in and what he saw. His dad was poor to him, left him in shambles and a bunch of crap. He went out here and did a bunch of stuff. Then he met Jesus. Then he changed. He saw racism face to face. He raised us with hey man, there's a reality of things out here. But it just I don't remember a single chip on his shoulder and a little bit of no hatred at all. I don't remember any of that. Even my mother, when he passed on, my mother showing me stuff like, when you get pulled over, you need to do this to make sure you make it back home. She never raised me with hatred in her heart, or I was just never shown that. So like this heart for reconciliation I have was fostered by them. There's never this us versus them. There's, man, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. I got that from him. So that's just type man he is, bro. Like he just really set the bar high. It shows you what the power of a good man with good faith can do for a good family.
What I love the most is the two words that it's like burning in my head is talking about love, like starting and leading with love.
Yeah.
And I teach that to my kids. That's where we start.
Yeah.
But now I'm also hearing how strong of a tool forgiveness can be.
Yeah.
And to know that that is what God has done. And that obviously probably was your grandfather was doing. People were definitely probably doing them wrong.
Yeah.
He was forgiving fast.
Yeah.
And he was using love to do it, and the other way around. And that's strong, man.
Yeah, bro.
That's strong. And it's not easy. Like
that's the part. It ain't easy.
It's not easy. I want to talk about your music. So
okay.
Talk to me. I'll let you even start because I've listened to your music. I bumped it on the way. I was like, how did I not hear this? And I didn't get to hear the newest, but I was like, how did I not hear this? And then I went through your Instagram and going on some of those. You do a lot of great things. Everything you're doing is high quality.
Thank you, bro.
Talk to me about your music. What got you into music? When did you start? And tell me how you implement your message into your music now.
Yeah, man. I wrote my first rap in 4th grade to Naughty by Nature.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
You still remember it?
Nah. Well, I remember the first 2 lines, and they're horrible. So I went to, my mother taught at Hampton University, and they had a private elementary school. And we had it was 4th grade. We had a project about the stock market. So it's a rap about the stock market.
Oh, that's smooth. We have to redo that. We need that, bro.
The 30th rap ever.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so I'm like 4th grade. It's like, boom, shakalaka. It's a stock market game. Every day to trade is not the same. That's all I remember.
Oh, so we can sell that to earn your leisure, man. We might have to call them boys out. You know what I mean?
It was over OPP, man.
It was dirty, man.
Yeah, man. It was, what you say, dirty?
Dirty. You said it was dirty?
No. I said it was, I remember what I said. I said it was OPP.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it was a dirty, like you wrote it dirt, like a dirty song. So
No, not in 4th grade. They came later. Like, but my mom, like she kept me from hip hop. She didn't want me because all she saw like gin and juice and stuff. So she's like, nah, you know. And she was right to try to keep me from that. My friends put me on like Wu-Tang and all this stuff, and I got enamored. Like I got enamored with like Wu and what was going on. So like 2 of my favorite albums of all time was Wu-Tang Forever and Wyclef Jean's The Carnival. Those 2 albums like shaped me, right? So But you know, fast forward, man, and I started writing music just as an outlet, and it was a way to kind of escape stuff. And to me, a lot of the artists I follow, they didn't seem like they were having the problems I had anymore. It's like they made it out. They got all the money, they got all the women, like they look like they happy. So let me chase what they're chasing. But I always loved music, and I love production, and I love movie scores. Like I love movie soundtracks, bro. Like scores.
Mm-hmm.
I just love when the credits roll and it's a good theme. I'm just sucked in. Like, and so I told my mom, like, yo, I want to start producing. I was like 14, I think. And I was like, I need to get this keyboard. I saw, I'm gonna cut grass to save money up. She was like, well, you get a half, I'll meet you halfway. And I cut, bro, every yard I could in my neighborhood. I had that money in a heartbeat, and I got the keyboard. I started producing my own beats. I kept writing. I found I'm nice with writing. Formed some rap groups in high school. Made my first rap with my man Jason. Shout out Track. I was joking about the other day. I was like, we had a little karaoke machine in my room trying to cuss under our breath so my grandma wouldn't hear. Our grandma would have came in and beat everything.
Oh boy, what?
Man, breaks, bro.
Well, my grandma, that's when she was swift.
Yeah.
On the way to church, she might be, chill, look fragile and everything. She put that belt in her hand, or she clean it. It's a wrap.
And the thing on my grandma won't swift, but she would still come for you. And I'm like, I can't hit you back, so I gotta deal with it.
So now you gotta stay here, even though she moving slow. It's like,
it's slow motion.
If I move, I might get hit again. So I might say,
it's slow motion twice.
You don't want that, man.
But it was fun, man. So we did that, man. And then, when I graduated Bayside, I said, I don't have no future here. So I put it on the shelf, went to college, and then that's when everything happened with my dad. So when I came back to faith, I came to faith, I wasn't even thinking about music. Shortly after that moment, there's a lot of stories that happened, but my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, Tia, shout out my baby. She was like, hey, if you're gonna be with me, we got to go to church, because we dated in high school. We met in 7th grade.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we met in 7th grade.
Oh, that's dope.
It's crazy, man. So I can tell you that story in a bit, but like we started dating in 12th grade, and then when she graduated college, we got married. In between there, we broke up for a little bit, and I was making some mistakes. And then we got back together. She was like, if you're going to be with me, you got to go to church. I was like, all right. So I started going to church, and this stuff happens with my dad. It was like all these pieces God was putting together.
Yeah.
So I said all that to say, like, after that, and my dad came to Christ, she was like, hey, let's go to this Christian hip hop show I heard about. And I said, a Christian what? Like,
oh yeah, because I forget what year was this? This is like,
this has to be 06-ish.
Oh yeah,
07 somewhere.
Yeah, see, like Christian what?
It was like, it sounded so dumb, bro. I'm like, I want to go to that sounded like a knockoff. And I went, and bro, I saw people that were spitting their face. You know what I'm saying? And they were just talking about something different. Talking about loving people, raising families, forgiveness, stop the violence, Jesus. And I was like, you can do this? Like, I thought I had to do, just choirs and guitars for the rest of my life. I thought I only had like Kirk Franklin and Caleb. Like, that's what I got to pick.
I thought it was gonna be like this.
Right. Just, and like, no shade to none of them, but like, I thought those are my options only. Yeah. And I saw these dudes spitting their face, and I was like, you can really go here. So that night, bro, we went to IHOP, and I was like, I'm picking the pen back up, but I'm gonna dedicate everything to the King now. And I'm gonna talk about this forgiveness I've experienced. I just never stopped, man. So that's where the music came from. I just never stopped. And I was probably, 16, 17 years ago, and I went full time just with music and ministry on my own like 10 years ago. And God's been really faithful, bro. So
I love that, man. Yeah,
I just keep making music, man, because I'm like, one is dope. I'm getting better, and the music's flourishing. So I'm like, oh, let me keep it going. But it's the greatest communication tool out there.
Yeah.
Because you may never sit down and listen to me pontificate about a thing. You may never watch a podcast. But if the song is dope, you'll check it out.
Yeah.
And if I can just slide a nugget, if I never meet you, I can reach you electronically anywhere you are, and hopefully give you something to change your life like it changed mine. So I love making music for that reason.
Do you see your journey with fatherhood trickle into your music sometimes?
Always, bro. Talk about it all the time. Like I talk about forgiving my dad all the time. I actually, talk about it so much, I was like, because I ain't making it, I feel like I say it too much. And then I realized, man, somebody's song, like, you, like us meeting, that's their first time hearing stuff. So if I go back and they hear me talk about my dad a lot, man, it might be a soundtrack for healing for them. So I do talk about it a lot, even when I'm tempted not to, because I feel like this is the most healing thing I have, what I've been through. So yeah, I talk about it all the time. And then it is always a theme of forgiveness and reconciliation in my music and overcoming and, whatever. So
in your perspective, what challenges do fathers in the hip hop community face? How could they navigate them better?
I think it's two things. I think the culture promotes activities that keep us fatherless. You know what I mean? And I think the inability to be faithful because of those things is something we got to fight against. So, you know, I mean, I was listening to something today. I'm going to LA tomorrow to work on writing some sync music, so music for TV and film and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they send us some reference tracks, like, hey, we need stuff that sounds like this. And I'm listening to, okay, let me listen to the hip hop reference tracks. Bro, when I tell you all of the music was trash, you know what I'm saying? Like, not the sound, sonically, it was amazing, right? The content is just like, I'm like, bro, this is the representation of our culture to these higher ups. This is what they think hip hop is. And it was just constant, like, you know, bang her out and pass it to my homeboy, and shooting this dude in the face, selling drugs. I mean, I was just like, bro, like, no, where are all the people up in arms? Where the feminists at? Like, where's it?
No diversity at all in that.
No diversity at all, bro. Like, where's the stop the violence cats at? Where's everybody at? Because nobody cares about this stuff. As long as the beat is good. The hypocrisy is astounding, and it's just frustrating. And we got so many excuses to why it's okay. It's just art. I'm telling my story. Whatever. The white man did it. It's the industry.
Yep.
We got 50 billion excuses outside of saying, bro, stop giving stuff to kids. It's destructive. You know what I'm saying? Because like, well, you a grown man. You can listen to what you want. Bro, there's 5-year-olds listening to this that's going to grow up in the grown man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? The grown men right now making decisions was crap to them back 20 years ago. And now they who they are right now.
Yeah.
So it's not all the music's fault. I get it. But this didn't help. Especially when it's so attractive. It's a quote attributed to Plato. We don't know if Plato said it, but we think we don't. Music is the most dangerous weapon because it bypasses the senses and goes straight to the heart. Know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Music is the most so you can recall lyrics from songs you hate right now because it got in there and it's not going anywhere.
Yep.
So if you keep telling women that they're hoes, you keep telling dudes they thugs and niggas, you keep saying this is what you got to do until you keep doing that over and over and over again. You keep telling people it's okay to respond with violence. You keep telling people don't forgive because you a punk if you do. What do you expect people to believe? You keep feeding them trash. And they keep eating the trash. Everybody's responsible.
Yep, everybody's responsible.
You know, the rapper, the consumer, the industry, the media, everybody's responsible. Nobody's off the hook. But I just get frustrated when these rappers keep getting paid for stuff. And then when you see them in the interview, they want to act like they're positive because they gave some money to a HBCU.
Yeah.
Or look, I rented out a theme park for a day, so look, I'm dope. But all your music is hurting the families that you help, that you say you help. So I that bothers me. So if we keep promoting activities to keep us fatherless, to keep fathers out of the home, we're telling them go smash all these chicks. We're telling them have all these one night stands so these babies come up and don't take care of them. And it's not just the numbers about Black fatherhood are frustrating me because that's not. It's an inaccurate picture that's painted.
No, this is what I need to hear, man.
But like, it's just the messaging culturally propagates the thing we complain about.
Yeah.
So we can't get mad at the product, or the product of the message. We need to get mad at the message. So I just think hip hop's got to be accountable and be like, hey, we got to stop talking about smashing chicks all day and stop disrespecting people. I don't know where the feminists at when all these men are calling women bees all day. I'm listening to all these. And was because they got their music in their playlist. So they can't say nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, bro, stop calling women bees on it. Like, it's just like, that's disrespectful.
Yeah.
But it's been so adopted as a term of endearment. The same thing we did with nigga.
Yeah, I'm about to say, it's a lot of times it's not even realistic for how they live, right? They don't talk to their mama like that. They don't talk to their sister like that. But they're just perpetuating. And also, they're getting paid for it. So I want to know, like, where do you start to turn the tide? Do you is it internal? Like, these guys need to talk, hey, bro, we need to start keeping each other accountable about what we're doing and how we're doing it and start changing the tide that way. I don't know where to start.
I mean, there's always a top-down approach where the leaders make decisions and it trickles down to the people. Problem is, I just never, I see that happening in consequences of decisions these guys make. I don't see it happening in the philosophy of life these guys say.
Okay.
What I see as the thing that's always kind of worked is a bottom-up approach to where the people say, we demand better. And then the people at the top either have to move or accept what happened, right? You see this in the life of MLK. You see this in Gandhi, how they led the people. You see this in Jesus. Like you see this, and not that they're on the same level because I believe Jesus is God. But like if you just want to take the physical stuff of it, he went to the people. Like, and he went to the synagogues and stuff, but like the people were the ones. And the leaders on top was like, we got to kill this dude and get him out the way because we're losing our grip on stuff. So when you look at the people that like actually crucified Jesus, there's a group called the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Herodians. They all hated each other. They were like Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. We don't rock with each other. But we got a bigger threat. So let's link up and figure this out.
Yeah.
Right? And that's literally
that's exactly what
so but the people were the ones that changed stuff and it trickled up, right? Story of Jonah. The people, it was like, listen to this message from Jonah, we gotta repent. And the king made a law. So I see that as, if everybody always says it's the media, it's the industry, they're the ones feeding us this stuff. And they're not wrong in a sense, right? But if we all turned it off, everything would change.
Yeah, you eating it.
If we stop streaming, if we stop listening, if we stop watching the news channels, everything would change. Because all they care about is our attention. So they can get money from advertisers.
Yeah.
So they can control the populace. If we stopped watching and we stopped engaging and we stopped liking on social media and the algorithm was like, we ain't seen you in a while, where you at? We're trying to send you, and you're not engaging, everything changes. But we have to, the only reason it always works is because it's what we want in the first place.
Yeah.
Because we are the media. It's not the media. We're the media.
That's true.
So that's what I think, man. I do think rappers need to get in room. They need to be challenged.
Yeah.
And I think that's happening on one-on-one relationships and a lot of stuff's going on. But I think the people have to demand better. And until we demand better, nothing's going to change.
I believe you.
Because people will follow the money.
Yeah, I'm about to say they're going to follow the money. They got nowhere. That's the reason why they're open. That's the reason why they're doing what they're doing.
If I know, if the industry knows, if every female rapper that we put out dressed like a stripper.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They know.
And they're going to sell. And nobody's going to make a complaint about it because it's, freedom to wear what you want, da-da-da. So they're going to keep putting them out. If all these dudes keep rapping about murder and drug and nobody says anything, they're going to keep putting it out. Why would they stop? It's working.
Y'all about to say, why would they stop?
Why would they stop? It makes sense for them to keep going. But if the people say, I ain't buying tickets to that show because like half of the people on that bill is talking about stuff detrimental to my community, I'm not buying a ticket. If that stuff happened,
oh, bro,
everything changed.
They got to turn the tide. They have to. Or they go out of business.
Start respecting women. I'm not coming. If men said, we not gonna do that, right?
I was about to say,
men ain't gonna do that. But if men was like, listen, I want to see a better representation of women out here because I got daughters and I got a mother, and I'm not supporting that anymore. If that happened,
things turn. Yeah. I think sometimes we forget the strength that we have, and sometimes we stop fighting for something that we don't have. So they may not fight. You don't got a mom, you don't got kids, right? You're like, oh yeah, I don't need to fight for that. Like, I could care less. We gotta start fighting more. We gotta start fighting back, especially when we're speaking to our kids. And I know we're kind of getting slow on time, or we're getting down on time. One thing that I haven't really got a chance to talk to you about, I want to hear about your family and your relationship with your wife, and I want to hear about the relationship with your kids. Just talk to me a little bit about them, man.
Man, I love my wife and kids, bro. We celebrate 18 years in June. 18 years of marriage in June. And we dated.
Congratulations.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. We dated for 5 years before that. So my wife is the homie, man. I love my baby. She's the only reason I'm able to do what I'm doing now is because God used her to get my attention to turn my life around. And then every step I made after that, she was right there by me the whole time, holding my hand. And then as I started getting called to lead, to speak, to start things, I started having ideas like, babe, what you think about this? She was supporting every single thing. She was there every single time. And even when I was like, I feel like I need to leave my job and do this full time, she was pregnant with our kid. And we took 6 months just praying and planning and thinking together. And she was like, go for it. It just didn't make any sense. Everything should have failed. She was there the whole time. So my wife is my best friend, my lover, my partner and everything. She, I don't know, man, she got it, bro. Like she's a one of a kind. You know what I mean?
How did you becoming a father affect your marriage?
Man, we had a 5-year plan so we could spend. We did get that wisdom. We talked about getting to God early. One of the things we did early was we got old friends.
So I like that.
I want to get old friends. You're 20, 30 years down the road. Y'all are healthy, you're in love. Your kids love you. Y'all love Jesus. Everything's looking okay. What did y'all do 30 years ago that we need to start now, kind of stuff? And we got a bunch of old friends. And one of them was like, hey, take a couple years, just y'all. Because once kids come, you're going to forget all that. but it's going to give you it's going to be like those years didn't exist, but y'all got a foundation that you know you had. It's going to hold you through. And so we had kids about 4 years, and we made it about 4 years. And for me, I mean, it strengthened our marriage. Like we love having kids. Like my daughter is my best friend. My son is my best friend. Like I love these guys. They're just freaking amazing. They're dope kids, and they're great people. And I just love watching them grow and flourish. We're having like life conversations now because 13 and 10.
Yeah, about to say getting older now.
We there, bro. We finishing lap number 2. We'll be in the middle of lap number 3 now, man. It's just like crazy to watch. But I'll tell you this story. I don't know how much time we got.
Oh man, I'm chilling. I'm cool. Give it to me, man.
All right. Well, I always wanted kids. When I remember being young and saying, one day I'm gonna have kids. I'm gonna be a better dad than my dad was. And it was like, prove something to myself kind of thing, right? So we, stuff happens with dad. Dad dies. My wife was there the whole time for that. It's just crazy. And then, we get married a couple years in. She's pregnant. And it's kind of still this, I'm going to be a better dad than my dad is.
Yeah.
Right? And I find out my little girl's on the way. Her name's Shekinah. Shekinah Glory.
Okay.
Like the glory of God.
Yeah, I had a friend from Howard back in college there.
That's when you went to Howard?
Yeah, no, I didn't go to Howard.
Oh,
I went to a school that was predominantly white, so I was at Howard every week.
Okay. Yeah. Gotta get my little guy.
Yeah, man.
Gotta get some culture in.
There we go.
My grandma got her PhD from Howard.
Okay, awesome.
Anyway, so her name's Shekinah, and it's God's glory. We're gonna meet it, and then we're in the living room. My daughter's about 5 minutes old. I'm just elated. I'm happy, and this fear hits me of, what if I mess this up, like my dad did? What if I'm not strong enough? What if I screw it up? What if I leave? What if all the fears just hit me? So I'm holding my dream, and I'm also holding this fear. And my mom comes over to me, and she says, do you have any idea what today is? I'm like, nah, what's today? She says, today is your father's birthday. I never knew my dad's birthday till the day my daughter was born. And I'm not a reincarnation guy, and I don't think anything other than I think God just adjusted the clock to have her born on his birthday to give me this one thing. If you'll trust me with your fatherhood, I got you. Everything that happened with your dad, I'm going to redeem if you trust me. And that's what I felt that moment was. And she's born on 7/7, if you get into the numbers.
Oh,
right?
yeah. There we go.
Yeah, just number of completion stuff. So and she was supposed to be born like 2 weeks later. So you can't predict that stuff. That's just God. That the glory of God, Shekinah glory, would come to me on my father's birthday. And just when my biggest fear is I'm going to be a bad father. And the father would say, I got you in the middle of all that.
I love how God would just remind you, bro.
Bro, God is the master storyteller. Because we think storytelling means untrue. He's just telling great stories. You know what I mean? So that happened with my daughter. Fast forward 3 years later to my son. And my heart's healing a little bit from I'm going to prove I'm a better dad to, I remember my mindset was, I want to be the dad my dad could have been if he'd have met God in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just want to be a better man. I don't want to just prove I'm better than him, right? So my son comes and I said, hey, I'm reading, 10 Commandments now. And I'm like, all right, how can I honor my father? He's gone. He's not here.
Yeah.
But how can I honor him in the earth? And I said, well, Tia, do you mind? My wife's name Tia. Do you mind if we have a boy, his middle name be my dad's first name, which is Daniel, like Daniel, but with a Z. And she's like, cool, I like that. What if his first name is Josiah? And I was like, I don't know. Like, so he was like, and the thing was, it wasn't that I didn't like Josiah. It was that I was trying to be extra biblical deep. I was looking for like these really intricate Old Testament.
Zephaniah. Yeah.
I was like, at least 4 syllables. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was trying to find something super deep. Like, I actually went there one time. I was like, hey, it was one David's kid. What do you think about Adonijah? She was like, if you don't get out of here. I'm like, no, because
I was Bartholomew. And you're like, it's just not
Thaddeus. And like, shout out to all the daddies.
Yeah, I love my Bartholomew.
I was just looking for something deep.
Right.
But I sat down and I was like, so she won that argument, right? And I was like, oh, cool. I like Josiah. It's cool. So Josiah's Daniel. I got it. She's about 8 months pregnant. And I'm like, all right, well, fast forward. She gets to 8 months pregnant. And I'm like, I should probably look up what Josiah means.
Yeah.
Saw him at the Krispy Kreme on Northampton Boulevard with my Bible names book, and I'll never forget it. And I opened it up. I look at what Josiah means. And I said, oh my God, this is making sense. God continues to speak to my kids. Josiah literally means Yahweh heals. So my son's name is Yahweh Heals Zaniel Anderson.
Whoa.
Know what I mean?
Oh. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Ooh, I'm not gonna let this one out. I'll admit it all the way to
no, let it go. Let it go. So my son's name is God Heals My Dad. You know what I mean? And his name is God Heals My Grandfather. So like, what is God trying to say? If you'll trust me with this, I got you. And that's the stuff that let me know. In my last conversation with my dad was, I forgive you. I don't know if my dad met God. And, you know, if we believe what Jesus said about some of this stuff, there's two options after that.
Yeah.
I was scared, actually. Like, I don't know. But for God to send a message to me later gives me hope that, I don't know, somebody brought him the gospel. Maybe he got his life together. Maybe he was reaching out to me because he was already on that journey. I don't know. But I do know, like Abraham said, will not the judge of all the earth do right? And for him to send me that message through my daughter's name, on my dad's birthday, and through my son's name, God Heals My Dad. I'm like, all right, he is really into forgiveness and redemption if we just trust him. And so that's what my music, my message, and my media is all about. Just forgiveness, trust God.
Legend, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This has definitely blessed all of me. I'll feel it for sure, man. And I can't wait. I'm already thinking I'm going to probably have to listen to this again as soon as I get in the car and leave this. I love it, man. Thank you.
Nah, thank you, bro. Thanks for having me, man. This is an amazing podcast. I was listening to the episode today, man. I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, so I appreciate what you're doing, bro. I appreciate you highlighting fatherhood and giving men hope, giving Black men hope, that they can just see like this. Through your podcast, they can see examples of men who are really going for it and fighting for it that a lot of us didn't grow up seeing. I think the current stat is 18 million children in America without fathers right now. Something like that. That's staggering, bro.
Yeah.
And they're not all Black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, despite what we told,
yeah,
they're not all Black. Yeah. A lot of the numbers about the Black community that are so bad are not numerically worse. They're proportionately worse. Because we're 12 to 18% of the country. Sometimes and it's bad. Like, stuff is bad, but it's not what it sounds like because it's
still a ratio.
Proportionately. You know what I mean?
Still a ratio.
Numerically, other numbers may be worse other places, whatever. Like, but regardless of that, this is not just, it's great to see Black men doing it. I applaud you, keep that up, please.
Yes,
especially to change narrative. But dude, like, anybody who's a father can benefit from what you're putting out there and just grow and learn and see men going for it. Bro, I tell you, I'm done with this. I'm done with it. No, like, I got embarrassed about my story about my dad at one point. And I stopped. And I'm on stages preaching and doing shows. And I would always tell my story about my dad. And then at one point, I started to feel like a statistic. I started getting invited to like predominantly white places. And I'm like, oh, I'm the only Black dude here. And I'm the only one on stage talking about my dad was drug, alcohol. I don't want to tell my story in front of all these white people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're like, they heard this story before. Like,
they heard it before. All they got to do is cut on the news. They're going to have some poor Black dude, whatever, that they're going to, parade around for political reasons. I don't want to be part of that. And I got ashamed. And I stopped telling my story because I didn't want to make Black people look bad. And I remember going to this one event, and I remember it was on a beach, nice hotel. It was one of the nicest events I've been invited to. And I'm in the hotel like, God, thank you. Like, you're really blessing this move of me leaving my job. Like, you really mean this. So, okay, great. Like, what do you want me to do? I want you to tell your story. I was like, what else do you want? Because I don't.
No, thank you.
I thought we agreed that I actually didn't agree. I just stopped telling it. Can I do something? And I felt this pressure, this holy pressure to tell my story that night. I'm in front of 600 people. And they all white, and I'm embarrassed, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to make Black people look bad. And I get out there, I'm doing the show, and I'm choosing to ignore what I felt like God was telling me to do.
Trying to ignore it.
I'm choosing to be disobedient. And I'm like, I could just apologize later, right?
He'll forgive me.
You gotta forgive me. He's all about forgiveness. And I'm just, bro, it's to the point like I'm on stage. It's just like, tell you, I can't focus on the song because it's like in my head, like, tell your story. And I'm like, all right. And I stop the show. I tell my story about my dad. Forget all the stuff I told you. And then I did something I never did before. I said, hey, if any of you felt this way with your father or have this same story, raise your hand. And bro, over 60% of their hands in that room with him. All white heads.
Wow.
And I was like, Father, please forgive me. Because I judged them the very way I thought they were judging me. I apologize. I'll never hold my story back again. That night changed my life. So I'm saying that to say, keep putting this stuff out, bro. Because I don't care where they come from, what they look like. Fathers are hurt now. And they need to see examples of men going for it and pushing for it and fighting for it. Especially when coaches telling them, man, just leave. Like, F all this. Forget this marriage stuff. Like, what's the point? Bro, like, they got to see that it's worth it, that it's valued, that God wasn't wrong about instituting marriage and fatherhood. And that there's men out here fighting for it and the benefits of it. You keep highlighting it, you're going to help a lot of people heal and you're going to help a lot of men live better. So I applaud you for that.
Man, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I know one thing I'm pretty sure everybody's wondered as they listen is like, how can I find this dude? Like, I need to hear him speak. Like, I need more because, of course, this podcast is not infinite, but they want to get on this train of like following Legin and his story and being able to do more. And I know I'm going to be coming to see you soon. And if it's not this weekend, hopefully it's in the future. How can the people find you, man?
Bro, at Legin TV as everything, Legin TV. So just Nigel backwards TV. The website, legin.tv. YouTube, Legin TV. And everything is that. And I got sermons and messages and music and podcasts. If you want to find my podcast, just search the Legin Podcast wherever you get your stuff. We actually made separate social media channels for that. That's the first time I've done that. That's out. But Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, it's up. And just holler at me, man. You need to talk, shoot me a DM. I'll be there.
Y'all heard it. Here for the Dads. Out. Thank you for watching. You just listened to Here for the Dads podcast with Myer Krah. I am so grateful that you're here. But if you're new to this space, what I need you to do is slow down and subscribe, share, review, or rate. Whatever you can to help me out because I'm on a journey to create a space for existing fathers and new fathers that's going to allow them to be a little bit more confident and a little bit more efficient at what they're doing. Thank you.